Imagine you're learning German and you come across these two sentences. Der Hund beißt den Mann. Den Mann beißt der Hund. At first glance, they might seem different, but both mean the dog bites the man. How is that possible? In English, the dog bites the man and the man bites the dog have different meanings. When you swap the subject and object, you change the meaning. But German is a little different. So to help you, I've created a comprehensive German cases chart that you can get at mygermanizedlife.com. All of my downloads are free. You can get flashcards and they help reinforce your learning. I also have some interactive exercises. Before we go into each case, let's quickly understand what the German cases do. In English, we mostly rely on word order to show meaning. But in German, it's case endings that show whether something is the subject, direct object, indirect object, or showing possession. As you can see from the chart here, the nominative is the doer or the subject of the sentence. Who is doing the action? The accusative case is the receiver, the thing directly affected by the action. The dative case is the beneficiary, someone who gets something or benefits from the action. And the genitive case shows ownership or possession. All right, let's start with the first and most important case, the nominative case. So the nominative case is for the subject, the person or the thing doing the action in the sentence. It answers the question, who is doing it? German nouns all have one of three genders. And we use those with definite articles, the, and indefinite articles, a or an. There's masculine, feminine, and neuter. The masculine definite article is der. That's how we say the. And the indefinite article is ein. That's how we say a. Der Hund schläft. The dog sleeps. The feminine uses the definite article die and the indefinite article eine in the nominative case. Die Katze schläft. The cat sleeps. The neuter definite article is das and the indefinite article ein. Das Kind schläft. The child sleeps. For plural, we have the definite article die. For example, die Hunde schlafen. The dogs sleep. In the nominative case, if the subject is masculine, use der or ein. If the subject is feminine, use die or eine. If it's neuter, use das or ein. And for all plurals, it's always die, even for neuter and masculine words in plural. Easy enough so far, right? Let's look at some examples. Der Hund läuft. The dog runs. Die Frau liest. The woman reads. Das Kind spielt. The child is playing. Die Kinder spielen. The children are playing. Did you notice that the article der, die, das tells us the subject's gender and number, even before we get to the verb? Let's do a few practice exercises together. Which article would you use for these subjects? Baum. The tree is masculine. Der Baum. Blume is a flower, feminine. Die Blume. Haus is neuter. Das Haus. And Bücher, the books. Die Bücher. Very good, German learners. Remember, you can find more practice exercises to do on the website. Practice makes perfect, so if you can't remember everything the first time, don't worry. I know I didn't remember all these things the first time I learned them. If you understand the nominative case so far, you're ready to move on to the accusative. Next, we'll look at what happens when something receives the action. It's in the accusative case. The accusative case is used for the direct object, the person or thing that directly receives the action of the verb. In simple words, if you do something to someone, that something is the accusative case. It'll get easier to understand when you see a few examples. Here we have another handy chart that we can use as a reference. The direct object is asking what or whom. For example, I see the dog. I is our subject. I am doing the action, the seeing. So this is the nominative case. And the dog is receiving the action. It'll be in the accusative case in German. Only masculine nouns change the article. Feminine, neuter, and plural articles stay the same. We have masculine den, feminine die, neuter das, and plural die. And for the indefinite articles, only the masculine changes as well from ein to einen. Feminine remains eine, and neuter, ein. Let's look at another example. Feminine, ich sehe die Katze. I see the cat. And for neuter, das und ein, ich sehe das Kind. I see the child. Plural, die, and no plural for ein. Ich sehe die Hunde. I see the dogs. So let's practice by choosing the correct article for the direct object. Ich habe a chair. Einen Stuhl. Wir kaufen a bag. Eine Tasche. Er bringt a gift. Ein Geschenk. Next, we'll make it a little trickier and meet the lucky indirect objects. It's time to look at the dative case. You know how to recognize the subject with the nominative case and the direct object with the accusative case. So let's throw in the dative case. The dative case is for the indirect object, the person or thing that benefits from or receives something indirectly in the sentence. Dative answers the question, whom? This is used for our indirect object in the sentence. For example, I give the child a book. In the sentence, I am doing the action. I is a nominative. The book is what's being given. It's in the accusative. The child is receiving the book, so this will be in the dative case. Let's look at this sentence in German. Ich gebe dem Kind das Buch. Let's go through our chart to see how dative works. Masculine is dem or einem. Ich gebe dem Mann das Buch. I give the man the book. Feminine becomes der or einer in dative. For example, ich gebe der Frau das Buch. I give the woman the book. Neuter becomes dem or einem. This is the same as the masculine case. Ich gebe dem Kind das Buch. And plural becomes den. For example, ich gebe den Kindern das Buch. I give the children the book. So as you can see, the masculine and neuter nouns use dem and einem. They're the same. And the feminine nouns change to der or einer. Plural nouns use den, and you can add an n to the noun if it doesn't already end in an n. For example, ich helfe dem Freund. I help the friend. And plural, ich helfe den Freunden. I help the friends. See how Freund becomes Freundin. Good job, German learners. Remember to do the practice exercises on the website so you can sharpen your German skills with the cases and review what you learned today in the video. Maybe this memory trick can help. If you're giving, showing, sending, helping, you're probably dealing with the dative case. Verbs like geben, give, zeigen, show, schenken, gift, helfen, help, and danken, thank, are all dative verbs. So keep that in mind, that some verbs are dative even if the other rule doesn't apply. Now that you understand how to spot the indirect object in German, we'll cover that last case. And it's all about the possessive. It's the genitive case. All right, we almost made it to the end. We've reached the fourth and final German case. The genitive case is used to show possession. It answers the question, whose? Let's get up our handy chart for the genitive case. That way we can see what happens to our definite and indefinite articles. Let's say we want to translate the dog's toy or the toy of the dog. But in German, we're going to use the genitive case. Here's a simple example. Das ist das Spielzeug des Hundes. That is the dog's toy. Do you notice the ending in this sentence? Hund becomes Hundes. Sometimes we add an S or an ES to the masculine and neuter noun in the genitive. And let's look at the definite and indefinite articles. In the genitive, we have masculine des plus the SES, eines, das Auto des Mannes, the man's car. For feminine, we have der and eine. For example, das Buch der Frau, the woman's book. And in neuter, we have des with S or ES ending and eines. For example, das Spielzeug des Kindes, the child's toy. And what about plural? We have the definite article der, die Farben der Häuser, the colors of the houses. So here's what you need to remember. For masculine and neuter nouns, the article changes to des, and the noun usually adds S or ES. For feminine and plural nouns, the article changes to der, but the noun itself doesn't change. Now let's have a few practice exercises in the genitive form. Das Auto des Mannes. Das Buch der Frau. Die Farben des Hauses. Die Stimmen der Kinder. Congratulations, German learners. Now you know how to use all four German cases. The nominative, our subject, who's doing it. Accusative, what's directly affected. And dative, to or for whom. Finally, our genitive case says whose it is. Now let's finish by putting it all together in one very complicated German sentence. Der Vater gibt dem Sohn das Fahrrad des Bruders im Garten. The father gives the son the brother's bicycle in the garden. Let's walk through it slowly and look at each element of the sentence. Der Vater is the nominative. He's doing the giving. Then we have dem Sohn. This is in the dative case. He's receiving the bicycle. And das Fahrrad is in the accusative. It's the thing being given. Des Bruders is in the genitive. It shows who the bicycle belongs to. Now it's your turn, German learners. Write your own short sentence using a subject in the nominative, a direct object in the accusative, an indirect object in the dative, and using the possessive in the genitive case. See if you can come up with a sentence that uses all 4 cases and post them down in the comments below. So that's it for today, German learners. You now understand how all 4 cases fit together in German. The cases aren't as scary as they look. They're like little labels that keep your meaning clear, no matter how you rearrange the words. To keep practicing, grab the free German cases chart, exercises, flashcards, and more at mygermanizedlife.com. They're all designed to make mastering German easier and a lot more fun. Bis bald, German learners. Auf Wiedersehen!